Hello, good morning, everyone. This is Sunil Kumar. I welcome you all to this session on Introduction to Business Analysis. So, this session is powered by Mindsmap Consulting. So, I'm one of their trainer in business analysis training. So, before beginning, we'll have a quick round of introduction. So, I'll introduce myself. I believe I'm audible to everyone, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm Sunil Kumar, and my overall experience is 10 plus years. So I've worked in major CMM level 5 companies, and I have trained so far 150 plus professionals, both through online mode and offline mode of training. In terms of certification, I hold 30 plus of professional certification. I'm also a ISKI accredited trainer on agile business analysis. So ISKI is International Software Quality Institute, who recognizes business analysis trainers worldwide. So as far as my credibility is concerned, I'm Microsoft certified professional. I'm Microsoft certified technology specialist, and I'm Microsoft certified solution developer, Microsoft specialist, Microsoft charter member. I hold a FCBA, that is Foundation Certificate in Business Analysis from British Computer Society, and I am also a certified business analyst professional from IIBA. I have completed my ISTQB from ISKI. I'm Exim Cloud Computing certified, and I'm also a professional Scrum Master. So
ITR
this
principal.
is a summary of what all we would be covering. We would be basically covering the concepts of business analysis aligned to BABOK, that is Business Analysis Body of Knowledge prescribed by IIBA, that is International Institute of Business Analysis. So whatever knowledge areas, they have 6 knowledge areas. So we would be covering all 6 knowledge areas of BABOK. Apart from that, we would also be covering your agile process as prescribed by your Scrum Alliance, and we would also be covering some hands-on sessions in areas like process modeling, prototyping, then your requirement eliciting. We would also be covering some of the techniques out of the 50 techniques which are provided by IIPA. So this technique includes interviewing, then brainstorming, then focus group, JAD session. So how those sessions are conducted in real life. How if you are, let's say, get a job in business analysis, how you would be conducting those sessions with the respective stakeholders. What are the key elements that you need to take into consideration? How you should be starting the initial conversation. So we would be going through all of them. Now, as far as this is the theoretical aspect, in terms of practical aspect, we would be covering this case studies like algorithm analysis, prototyping. In domain analysis, there are different domains. We have banking domain, we have finance domain, retail domain, healthcare domain. So here I would not be covering every domain, but like insurance domain, I would be covering a bit more to give you that flavor of what it is like to be a business analyst in a specific domain. Now, similarly, in finance domain, I would be giving you some flavor of what it is to be like a business analyst in finance domain. We would be doing some case study around it. Then in terms of advanced business analysis concept, I would be highlighting the cloud computing aspects, and I would also be covering one case study of WordPress. I believe everyone is aware of what is WordPress. Hello.
I think it's online blogging, uh, something site to just post online.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is one. Then we would be covering case studies on how the video management sites work, how we would be gathering requirements around that. We would be covering some process flows in process modeling. So these are the tools which we would be using: Microsoft Visio, Azure RP, that is Rational Pro. So this tool is used for prototyping to create screen mockups. Then Jira tool we would be seeing. It is used for requirements management. Then Just in Mind is again one of the prototyping tool. So when it comes to data modeling or data analysis, when I would be covering that session, I would be covering SQL Server tool. Then Visage Modeler is again one of the process modeling tool, and for UML we would be using Argo UML tool. So these are the tools which we would be covering. In terms of your assignments, so you would be given this assignment. So sorry, once we cover a session, you would be given an assignments. Of course, I would be giving you the initial heads up in order to how to solve the assignment. Let's say there are 10 items to be solved. I would be giving you solved assignment for 2 items. Rest 8 items would be your assignment. Okay, so for certification planning, I would be taking an exclusive session wherein I would be explaining you the different business analysis certification that are available today from IIBA, BCS, PMI, ISKI, IREB. Then what are the agile certifications that are available today? That is from your CSM, CSPO. Then there is one more organization, Scrum Study, NCNA, SFC. So these are the free certification. I would also help you in you know attaining this free certification if you feel like. Then there would be project work given to you, and towards the end of this course, so once this all of the sessions are over, your final evaluation would be basis on this project work, your assignment score, and your final mock interview score. So it would be a cumulative score of all three. So we'll start with what is a business process. So when we talk about business analysis, so business analysis is more catered towards a process, and whatever activities that we do, right, in terms of planning the activities, right, in terms of gathering the requirements, right, in terms of making the stakeholder understand the requirement, we all have to go through a process. So business analysis is more focused towards a process. So if I consider an IT domain, so IT domain completely is derived from three different aspects. So the first aspect is the process, the next aspect is the business, and the third aspect is your technology. Now, when I say business, business is nothing but a domain. So, domain could be anything, could be your retail domain, could be your banking, could be your insurance, could be healthcare, could be your e-learning domain, could be anything. Okay. Now, process could be what all things comes in a particular domain. So for example, if I consider a human resource domain, so what all process you feel could be part of human resource domain. So we'll start, I'll try to make this session more interactive so we all are on same page. So who was the person from human resource? Benga, it was you, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. So, could you
Right.
tell
Mhm.
the class what are your typical activities as a human resource? Typical day-to-day activity.
Uh, um, well, basically, we're constantly involved in recruitment,
Mm-hmm.
and from recruitment to hiring to onboarding to training and development, um, and of course the payroll piece of things, and also um, the different pieces of HR that we're constantly involved in. So if we're not training, we're talking about maybe compensation, or we're talking about different processes.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also working with different softwares like SAP HR, Workday, Teleo, and we depend on those softwares to execute the processes, the HR processes of the organization.
Okay, great. So, when it comes to business process, so it's more about doing an analysis of the process and the system together in line with the business. For example, I would request everyone to please go on mute. I'm hearing some noise. Okay, so when it comes to business analysis, we have to align these three things together: the technology, the process, and the business or the domain. For example, like Benga already said, he has been working in HR process. So in HR process, the process is like you have a set of resumes. You first go on with what are requirements you get from the hiring manager. So your hiring manager gives you a set of requirements. For example, let's say the hiring manager wants to hire a person in a skill set like let's say cloud computing. In cloud computing, that is the first requirement. Now in that cloud computing, what are the typical skill set he is looking for? So cloud computing is a vast domain. Now in that particular cloud computing, there are different aspects, like there is SaaS, there is PaaS, then there is infrastructure as a service, then there are different tools which they use in cloud computing. So this way a set of requirement comes to we'll take an example of Benga only. So Benga, let's assume he is a he is what I would say, accountable to create a human resource process. So he would be getting a set of requirements to find a candidate who has experience in cloud computing domain. So he got the requirement from the hiring manager. Now what's the next step for Benga? So the next step is he would be searching for potential candidate from different sources. Now this is where, as a business analyst, you would be searching information from different sources. So what are the different sources or the potential sources for Benga? It would be your recruitment website. Like there are different website or different job portals which are available. He would be searching similar kind of profile like your cloud computing professionals in different job boards. Then he would be using social sites like LinkedIn. Then he would be using different reference, internal company reference, in order to get a set of resumes. So the first process for Benga is to get requirement from the hiring manager. The second process is to screen and no, before screening, to get resumes from different sources. So two set of processes are done. Now third process is like Benga receives, let's say, 1,000 resumes. Now out of 1,000 resumes, the total vacancy is, let's say, for two people or three people. Now they cannot go on screening or interviewing all the 1,000 resumes. So next process for Benga is to filter out those resumes. So what Benga would do, he would perform a close match on the hiring manager's requirement, which resumes has a close match. So once he is done with filtering of those resumes, he would be, let's say, highlighting 100 resumes for the hiring manager for initial screening. So now the next level of filtering would be with the hiring manager. He would get 100 set of resumes from Benga, and he would, let's say, he would reject another 25, and he would be having a final list of 75 candidates. Now in that 75 candidate, he would be conducting first round, then he would be filtering and eliminating, then he would be conducting second round. In that he would be filtering and eliminating. So by the time the final process reaches wherein you make a offer to a particular candidate, there are only 5 or 6 resumes. Why 5 or 6 resumes, not only 2 or 3 resumes? Because there may be a case that some of the candidates to whom you make an offer, they don't turn up or they reject the offer. In that context, we would keep few resumes in pipeline as well. So if we try to map this process in a particular system, now this is a HR process. Now correct me if I'm wrong, Benga, if I am mistaken somewhere. This is the HR process, I believe.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so once we have done with this process related activity, we would be aligning them to a system. Now, how the system would work, for example, we take a system, let's say Talio or SuccessFactor or Workday. So this system have been driving through a set of workflows. So for example, hiring manager post a requirement. Now there is a workflow defined in the system wherein the hiring manager could log in into the system and post the requirement direct to the HR representative. Now once HR representative logs in, he should be able to see different requirements from different hiring managers. After that, he would source certain resumes and he would do the initial level of screening or scheduling interviews with different candidates till the day he makes the final offer. So all of this are aligned to different processes in different systems like Talio and SuccessFactors. Now this also includes your onboarding processes and till the day the candidate is onboarded to the company. Now similar process are there in different domain. Now if you see how the processes work is, we need a set of inputs, for example the requirement from the hiring manager or resumes from the candidate or follow up from the HR team, and then there is a process, for example screening process, then interview scheduling process, then hiring process, making an offer process, or onboarding process, and then we get a set of output. Now if you go by the definition, it says that it is a set of related tasks performed to accomplish a specific organizational goal. It can also be defined as a series of logically structured activity that produce a specific service or product for customers. Now, when we talk about the execution of the processes, so what do you mean by execution of processes? Like how the process happens in real time or real life scenarios. So there are certain processes which happens parallelly, and then there are certain processes which happens in a sequence. For example, if I had to give you an example of sequence process and parallel process, it would be like this. Guys, let me know if I'm going too fast. I'll make it a bit slower. If anyone is having any doubt, don't hesitate to ask me. Are you able to see this notepad file that I'm typing in?
Yes.
So if you see the list of processes that I have highlighted here, I think the font is a bit tiny. Make it a bit bigger. So if you see a list of processes that are highlighted here, all of the processes are sequential. So first processes would happen in one sequence. Once this process is complete, the next process starts. Once this process is complete, the third processes start. Now this is an example of sequential process in a particular system. If you map it with a system like Talio or Workday or SuccessFactors, this all processes would happen one after another, and this all would be driven through a workflow. Now, how a parallel process works. So parallel process is like when you are sourcing a resume from different sources. So here is where the parallel process works. Your system would be integrated to different job boards or different profiles like I'm sorry, different social media sites like LinkedIn or Monster. You would be receiving a set of resumes from this parallel sources. This is how where your particular process works parallelly integrated with different system. So when we talk about process, it's not always that all of your process would go sequentially. There could be a scenario when your process could work parallelly as well. So any questions on business processes, anyone?
No.
Okay. Next is, now we have seen an example of business process. Now, why there is a need of business process at the first place itself? Any rough view, anyone? Why do you feel there is a need? Forget about business. Why there is a need of process at the first place? Why can't we do everything on ad hoc basis? Why can't we do a activity on ad hoc basis? Why do we need to go through a process? What do you feel about its significance? Abira, any views from your end?
We can use to make some process to like to automate a process, like
I'm not talking about the automation part as of now. I'm only talking about why do we need a process? We can do the like I shown you 6 set of activities that could be done on ad hoc basis. Why do we need to follow a process?
Um, as a business, quality assurance is very important. And if you don't have a defined process that everybody goes through, you're not going to have consistent outputs. So it's important to set up a process that everybody can follow and to ensure that we're getting the same, we're getting a standardized output. That's one. Then two, you need a process because that gives you an opportunity to improve upon the process. But if you don't have the process defined, there's no opportunity to be able to analyze every stage of the process and see areas of improvement. And as a business, you are very concerned about time. So you want to save time as much as possible to get results. So that's why you need the process.
Great. So, irrespective of any business domain you people work, irrespective of any technology you people work, we all need a process. Because yes, there are certain instances wherein there is a manual intervention needed in a typical set of process, but everything should follow a sequence. So it is like you are taking what I would say a sequential step by step task in order to achieve a particular goal. So that business goals could be accomplished through a series of process. So as a business analyst for us in this profession, the prime important aspect that we need to do analysis is to do a need analysis of the business and to identify the business goals. And most of the time, believe me, would be spent on analyzing the current process and the future process. So whatever organization you join in, 50 to 60% of your time would be spent on doing analysis of these processes. So like I explained you earlier in the HR example, so the processes are a step-by-step activity that you perform in order to achieve a business goal. So by going with the explanation over here, it is to become and remain successful and competitive business must continuously improve their process. Now, identifying process is one aspect. Now, improving the process continuously is the another aspect. Now, if you see the history of process, it is like First, if I talk, let's say 22 decades down the line, we had a lot of manual processes. So what we saw as a roadblock in manual processes is like the chances of human error is more. So for that reason, what we did, or what the organization started doing, is like they transformed this manual processes gradually into some of the what I would say system driven processes. So at this point of time, the processes were not completely manual, but some of the processes were driven by the system. To give you an example, 2 decades ago, we didn't have a facility for doing online transfer in a particular banks. We had to physically visit those banks and fill a particular form, and then we were able to do some of the online transfer transactions. Now then came a processes wherein partially the processes were driven by the system, wherein the system started recalibrating themselves, and we got a facility like web-based transfer or internet banking based transfer, online transfer. Okay. Then came an era of automated processes. Now in this automated processes, what happened is, let's say you have taken a personal loan from a particular bank. So earlier what it was like, at a particular date you is to do a transfer from your internet banking account or your web-based account, or either by physically visiting the bank's branch. Now what happened in automated process cases, they started doing your automated clearing services. So if you have, let's say, opted for a personal loan, so through automated processes, banks started directly debiting your account on that particular date. So that is where the automated processes started evolving. Now when we say about process improvement, now if you consider the process improvement case, mobile banking, this is where whatever processes were system driven and whatever processes were automated, they were improved and included in your mobile banking application. So this is how we have been improved from manual processes to system driven processes to automated processes to improved processes. And now there are multiple other transfer modes that are available, like we have PayPal, then we have Stripe payment. So these are example of process improvement, how processes within a particular business domain like banking has been evolved from that 2 decades ago till the day that is present. So any questions in this? Okay. So failure to do so is likely to result in higher cost. So that leads to lower revenues, less motivated employees, and fewer satisfied customer. Now if we say failure to do so, now what do you think, where can a process fail? Any views? So I have given you an example of these processes: automated, this manual processes, the system driven processes, and process improvement. So what do you think, where can a process fail over here? I'll give you a context, I'll set you a context for it. Let's say there is case 1 and then there is case 2. So case 1 is your Bank of America, and case 2, let's say we take Chase Bank. In case 1, what happens, the customer base is let's say 2 million, and in case 2 the customer base is, let's say, 1.5 million. Okay, so we have two cases. One is Bank of America, we have a customer base of 2 million, and then there is case 2, Chase Bank, we have a customer base of 1.5 billion. Now let's say, assume a case that this particular process, the mobile banking, this is available to only Chase Bank. Do you think there would be any impact on Bank of America customer? Now this application is only available with Chase Bank. Do you think there would be any impact on this customer?
Yes,
So what could be those impact?
they might lose customers because mobile banking is more convenient.
Mm-hmm.
So a customer would rather bank with Chase Bank
Mm-hmm.
eh, than Bank of America. So Bank of America will lose customers.
Okay.
And
And they are not competitive. Like Bank of America is not competing with Chase Bank, so yeah, they can lose the customer.
Okay. So I'll make a next statement over here. So I would say the mobile banking is expensive. Let's say they charge mm, $2,000 a year for using this mobile banking. Do you think still the customer would come to a Chase Bank because it's a chargeable service? It's not free of cost.
yes,
Okay.
people, yeah, people will pay for convenience.
Yes. So there are two aspects to this case. In first case, if you see, they don't have anything as a mobile banking application. Neither they have anything in pipeline proposed that okay, we would also uh, make this mobile banking for our customer base. So they are not at all doing any market research, or they are not at all competent with their processes. So they are happy with their customer base, and they are happy with their existing processes or the combination of processes. They don't want to make a fresh investment on this processes. Now since Chase Bank has made a fresh investment, so they are expecting some return on their investment. So that is the reason they have initially made this service as chargeable. Later at some point of time they may make it competitive. So here there is an advantage and then there is disadvantage to each other. So the advantage for Bank of America customer is, since they are not using this mobile banking application, I mean since they do not have this mobile banking application, and there may be two kinds of customer for them. One customer is a certain segment of customer would be like a old age group who may not be that much flexible in using mobile banking application, so they are good with that part, so they don't need to go for mobile banking. Then there are certain new age customer who give priority to the convenience. For them mobile banking is an ideal option, but at the same time they have to also see the chargeability factor to it. In that context, yes, there would be certain addition to Chase Bank, but they have certainly not encashed the entire opportunity that is exist in the market. They still have some opportunity losing to Bank of America because they have a very high price. So if we consider these aspects in doing any SWOT analysis or business analysis in any particular domain or in any particular area, we have to consider all this factor: the costing factor, then the feasibility factor, then the budgeting factor, and most importantly time to market. Who is coming first to market? Whoever is coming first to market with a certain set of killer features would survive. Rest all would struggle and may lose customer. So that is what it talks about. Failure to do so is likely to result in higher cost. Any questions, anyone so far? Okay. So next we would see the need for automating the business processes. So automation is like moving the needle of business efficiency and simplifying human lives in general. So businesses that have automated their processes cut price, save time, and employ their manual workforce to solve more intelligent problems. They let machines do the rote task while eliminating the chances of human errors. So whenever you are doing a process analysis, there are we have to see the processes as a whole picture cumulatively. So there would be certain processes wherein human intervention is needed, and then there would be certain processes which would be very time consuming. So there are constant effort in and around those areas to reduce those time, as well as to reduce those human intervention in those processes. So the need for automating the business processes applies to all areas, not only in IT industry, but also in industries like your automobile industry or machinery industry. There also you have a process. So there also this rules applies, automation of your business processes. It's not only with the software system, it also with the automobile and machinery system. So that is why I'm not sure whether you know or not know this fact that business analysis is a universal domain. So it's do not restrict itself only to a particular information technology domain. You can also work as a business analyst in automobile industry or any mining industry or any petroleum or chemical industry as well. So that's the catch over there. Okay, so what is business analysis? So here is where our actual course starts. So business analysis is a set of tasks, knowledge, and techniques required to identify business needs and determine solution to business problem. So this solution often includes your software development component, process improvement, and organizational change. So organizational change example is like your doing away with the annual review process and coming to the monthly review process. Process improvement is like the example I gave you, the manual process, then system driven, then automated process. And then comes your systems development components, like how you would be creating this process through a particular software or a particular system and delivering it to the customer. So that is something part of system development component. Now, what do you understand by these terms tasks, knowledge, and techniques required to identify business needs? So tasks are the action items that you would be doing on a regular basis in your business analysis job. For example, collecting information, then documenting information, managing information, then elaborating information, explaining information. Those are your tasks in your business analysis job. Knowledge is the necessary information needed to perform this task and techniques. For example, you cannot go to a particular meeting and saying that, okay, let's say there is a discussion going on for a mobile banking application, electronic fund transfer. You cannot go and ask them what is fund transfer. So that is the basic set of knowledge you should be having in order to go and ask questions to the business stakeholder. So this particular part talks about the knowledge aspect. Do you have the necessary knowledge to question the stakeholders for a particular requirement or a particular task? Then comes your technique. So your technique could be brainstorming, JAD session. JAD session stands for joint application development, wherein you would be sitting with the people who are coding and people who are testing. These kind of people, you would be sitting with them, you would be discussing your business requirement, and you would be documenting those requirements and sending it to the appropriate stakeholder. So those are JAD session. Then there is focus group session. Then there is brainstorming session, then there is interviewing sessions. So these are different sessions that a business analyst conducts in their day-to-day activity. So any questions on this slide?
So, how much part of business analyst involved in like the project from start to end? Like it's around 60%, 50%, or it's like 100% from beginning to end.
Okay.
So all the areas like means, yeah.
So if you see a project structure, it is something like, or I would say phases of project. Okay. So these are the typical phases of an IT project. So the first phase, pre-study and discovery phase. In this phase, for example, I gave you that Bank of America's mobile banking application. So once those activity gets over, your statement of work is signed. Your statement of work is signed. You as a business analyst would enter into this phase, pre-study and discovery phase. So here you would be discovering different questions for your business stakeholders. You would be reading that statement of work. You would be framing your questions that needs to be asked to the business. Now once you have framed the questions, the next phase in business analysis is your requirements elicitation phase, wherein you would be asking these questions to business stakeholders and capturing their requirements, not capturing their requirements, understand their requirement better. After that, you would plan the requirement. For example, it's a 6 months project. So you would say that I would be, yeah, Shivangi, did you ask something?
No, no, no. So by mistake actually.
Okay, so the in the requirements elicitation phase, you would be asking the questions to the stakeholder to understand what is their need, what they are looking for through this project. Now, once you have understood their requirement, you would plan the phases. I mean, plan your requirements phase. In this phase, what you would do is, let's say they have 4 features. In that 4 feature, you would go in detail about how much time it would be needing to gather the requirement. So it's basically an estimation kind of thing. Here you would be giving a high level estimation of the planning of your business analysis activities. Let's say out of 6 months you have planned your requirements gathering to be of 1 month. Now once you enter that 1 month time period, you would start gathering the requirement. So whatever understanding you have in this elicitation phase, you would elaborate more in this requirement gathering phase, and you would document them in particular Word document or prototypes or any process model or different business analysis modeling. Once you have done that, you would enter into requirement design phase, wherein you would be creating the use cases, which we would be covering in our subsequent session. Then you would be defining the data models, the process model. All of this would be covered in subsequent session. So design phase is like explaining in detail what the requirement is from business. And once these two is done, you would be entering to the requirement sign off phase, wherein you would be taking official approval from the business stakeholder. This is our requirement, and this is what we would be developing and giving it to you. So once this is done, the business analysis 60% work is done in a particular project. Now next 40% work is like coordinating with these teams. So whatever requirement you have elicited, discovered, planned, gathered, designed, and got approval, you have to explain these people. You have to test those requirement whether is as in line with this requirement or not. Then you have to do the official user acceptance testing with the customer. So once the testing is done, the software built is moved to the user acceptance testing environment, wherein your customer, let's say Bank of America, he would be testing the application and verifying whether it is meeting this requirements or not, and then your final deployment happen. This is where the majority of work of business analyst is focused on. 60% to this phase, 40, I wouldn't say 40, 30% to this phase, and rest 10% to this phase. Why I'm saying 10% to maintenance and support? Because whatever you have gathered, whatever they have developed, it's not always 100% correct. In any of the project, it won't be 100% correct. There would be some defects, there would be some bugs. For that reason, 10% of BA work is allocated to maintenance and support activities, wherein if there is some issue, that needs to be analyzed and fixed. This is how your business analysis work is distributed.
Uh, so when is that phase? That phase comes when we give the requirements to the developers to, so where it's like it needs to be done in this which phase? It's a requirement to design phase, or like where
After this,
here like the okay.
after the sign off phase, you would move all your approved requirement to the development team to start working on.
Okay, okay. So suppose like I'm not from testing background, so how would I perform the testing, like user acceptance testing? So is it like a person should be from testing background, or if a person who's not from testing background, so like how would this work uh,
Okay,
for a
so
person? Yeah.
it is like whenever you are coordinating with this team, the development team and the testing team, it's not like that you would be performing testing. You would only coordinate with them if they have a business query. For the example like I gave you, that the system should not allow the user to transfer more than $50,000 a day. So that requirement you would explain it to the testing team to test in the system whether the system is allowing it or not, and that particular tester would respond back to you whether it is allowing or not allowing. It's not mandatory that you would be performing testing, but yes, you have to coordinate. It's these three phases are like facilitation rule. You would only be coordinating with them, not actually doing them. Okay. Abira, do you have any questions?
So far, it's okay.
Okay. So next comes is why business analysis is important. So business analysis helps stakeholder achieve a shared understanding of the organization's need. So this shared understanding puts the team in a position to make legitimate recommendation for those needs, and ultimately puts the organization in a position to move forward and set of recommendation that best meets those needs. Now, business analysis is not only concerned about what project you are working on. It also focuses on how that project is benefiting the organization. Now, I have already explained you something regarding this. Could you recollect how project is benefiting an organization? uh, I'll give you a hint. While I was asking you a question, who should win the contract? At that part, I covered how project is benefiting the organization. Okay. At that part, remember I highlighted that number of successful projects a organization executed in mobile banking domain. So this is how a business analyst should be accountable for. If the project is successful, all the credit goes to business analyst. His requirements were clear and he took the initiative for making this project successful. So this is how a project that executes in an organization helps in maintaining that integrity and the needed what I would say expertise for an organization to sustain in the market. So remember who asked me this question, Shivangi or Abira? Where is business analyst in this particular IT project structure?
Yeah, I asked you.
Yeah, this is where the business, oh sorry, this is where the business analyst sits in this particular structure. So they are kind of sits in middle of this business stakeholders and the technology. They communicate with the business and the technology, and then the technology team communicates with these three, this set of stakeholders. So shouldn't be a question from your side that why only he is limited to technology head, not at these stakeholders, technical architect, project manager, QA manager, or production support.
Because he's not dealing with the technical side of the project. I think he's dealing with the requirements only.
Yeah. Because here his prime responsibility is to gather the requirement. Facilitation part is a different aspect. So it's not like if the arrow is going to technology head means he would only coordinate with technology head. He could also coordinate in terms of requirement explanation to this roles as well. But that is not the major role to him. That is the reason why the arrow is limited till here only. So this is the role of business analyst. So he works as a liaison among stakeholders in order to elicit, analyze, communicate, and validate requirements for changes to business processes, policies, and information systems. Then the business analyst understand business problems and opportunities in the context of requirements and recommend solutions that enable the organization to achieve its goals. We have covered pretty much all of these statements through examples. So a business analyst is responsible for ensuring the project's output meets, that is the validation in the UAT phase. So these are the responsibilities of business analyst: gathering and preparing business requirements, planning and documenting the requirement, analyzing and model requirement, take up change request, perform acceptance testing. Each of these 5 things we would be covering in the 6 knowledge areas in our subsequent sessions. So apart from the core business analysis skills, there are certain soft skills that a business analyst needs to have, like your analytical skills, the communication skills, the decision making skills, and the problem solving skills. Technical skill, if you have, it's good for you. If not, then no one would ask you.
So, what kind of technical skills? Is it like coding knowledge or any particular programming language, or so? What kind of?
Technical skills over here, they are referring to the usage of the software tools, how good you are at using a new software tool. For example, there are different process modeling tools available over here, like Microsoft Visio is there, Bisagi Modeler is there, then there is Glyphy, then there is Lucid Chart. So you might have worked in one tool, so how good you are at using the another tool, which is uh, pretty much the same thing. So are you good at learning that particular tool? So that is something, your technical skills. Apart from that, if you are working in a particular domain, let's say you are designated as a data business analyst, data analyst in a business analysis domain, in that particular thing you should know the basics of databases and SQL queries. Uh, Remember, I explained you one thing, that in interviewing session, you cannot ask basic questions to the stakeholders. You need to know a basic understanding of the domain or the concept. In that context, if you are working as a data analyst, then you need to know something about the databases, like what are tables, what are queries, what are joins. So those are also considered as technical skills. So I would have a
So that okay. So that thing will come when someone joins like any organization or something. Then will he or she will get to know like what's the business and what are the like technical skills that he or she need to like just work on, right? Before in my case, like I'm not working here, so I'm just a fresher. So how would I like I cannot cover all the areas. So how would I cover like one thing? Do I need to just grab one thing and just start working on it, or is it like just the small part of everything?
Okay. So in your case, it's not an expectation that you would be having in-depth knowledge, but yes, if you are applying for an interview which is specialized or specifically asking you for a skill set in any database tool, then you should know the basics. So anyways, I would be covering the basics of databases and the SQL tool, and I would also be giving you an ebook. So if you could spend some time around it, you should be able to learn it.
Okay, and what about these analytical skills? Like as a fresher, that also like wouldn't be there because analytical. I think it will come when you start working, or maybe like so for a fresher, they start like how will you improve these analytical skills?
Okay. So analytical skills is not of that important to a fresher, because this diagram talks about the business analysis as a whole. It doesn't categorize the diagram basis on your experience. So analytical skills is something that would come after 3-4 years. Once you know the domain, once you know the work. As a fresher, it is not accepted, not expected to have a good analytical skills. But yes, communication skill, decision making skills, and problem solving skill, these three are the three skill sets that you need to have, you need to be good with as a fresher. So communication skill is like,
And one more thing, actually, I need to ask. I've heard like a lot of time there is no openings for a BA freshers. So is it true like a BA just only joins as a like in an experienced way, or like a fresher can also like I'm not a recent graduate, so I'm just to a 2011 pass out. So in my case, like is it like okay if I go as a fresher, so there will be opening for me or not? I mean, just they consider experienced BA only in real time scenario, like current marketing perspective.
okay. So in that case, what I would recommend you, Shivangi, is I don't want to make a false commitment over here that you would be getting a BA role right at the first place. You have to, what I would say, keep yourself upskilled for that particular role. Yes, there are ways wherein you could get a opportunity as a fresher as a business analyst, but you have to do certain things. So what are those things? First is, uh, considering your background, the first thing that you need to do is brush up and be master in the core business analysis skill set. Like whatever we would be covering in your subsequent session, the BABOK, try to learn each and every concept of BABOK. That is something you could put in your resume. Secondly, I would be guiding you for 2-3 free certification. So those certification would help you, your help your resume stand out from the crowd, from the other fresher business analyst. So do watch those videos and get those certifications. Third part is like, whenever you are applying for a particular post or a particular project, the requirements are different, the needs are different. Do not send the same resume across everyone. Try to first go through their requirement, alter your resume some bit or modify your resume, and then send your resume to that particular part. Anyways, we would be covering it in detail in our resume preparation session. So just to answer your query at a high level, these three things you could do. Okay, so then there is decision making skill. So why decision making skills is needed? Decision making skills helps you prioritize the requirement. What is needed first? What is needed next? Those kind of things you could able to achieve. And then there is problem solving skills. So problem solving skill is like, if there is some issue going on, how to solve the issue, how to get the information right at the first place to the development team, to the testing team. It's a more of facilitating role or coordinating role with the other team members. So from here your BABOK part start. So I would recommend to stop here because this is something a different area we would be entering.
Okay.
So, so for today's session, when will be the video available?
See, this video conversion takes some time. After 2-3 hours, I would be uploading the video in the Mindsmap portal. You'll have to coordinate with Chris. He would be giving you your username and passwords.
Okay. And is there any homework or anything? I think the next session is tomorrow, right?
See, Chris hasn't said me that it is tomorrow or next week. He only said me that today is the demo session. So if it is tomorrow, then I would be conducting it tomorrow. So I'm not aware whether it's next week or tomorrow.
Okay. And for now, is there any homework or anything we need to do?
Okay, so if I'll give you, I'm not sure whether you, okay, so the request for information and request for proposal, I explained you a few steps. Can you please make a document for me? I need to see whether you got that particular concept or not. The request for proposal, request for information, request for quotation, and statement of work. So what are the typical steps? Even if it is 7-8 lines, that is fine with me. I just want to understand whether you got the concept or not.
So we need to document in like Notepad or Microsoft Word and send it to you, or how does it work?
Yes, you need to send it to me on this email ID.
So we need to define those RFI, like who are they and how does it work
Yes,
in
you need to
document.
explain it in a simple Word document, what you understood.
Okay, okay, okay.
So can you please ping me your email IDs as well? I would send you those knowledge based links and all those things. Okay, great. So thank you for joining, people. I if there are any suggestion or any recommendation, feel free to tell me. I would cover those part. So time is not a constraint over here. So if it's needed, I mean, whatever batches I have conducted so far, I have extended those batches because I don't want the students to just come watch the video, I mean, attend the lecture and go. I want them to understand the sessions as well. So do let me know
Uh,
what
I
I
have
need to
just
let.
one thing, Sunil. Just my concern is just like as Binder said, I'm focusing more on the IT side. So I would appreciate if you can just give example with respect to IT. So because that will like I have kind of like studied previously, so it's like more like convenient for me to understand easily, because I don't know anything A to Z about like banking and insurance industry. So I was thinking, because I have degree in IT only, so I was just like there's only one thing I was thinking about. I was wanting to just go with the IT side only.
Okay.
So because it will be like, it will be like, just a start. If I just jump onto different domain, or maybe I'll try to understand different domains, so it will be really hard for me to understand, to grab those and that knowledge, and just like implement with the IT respect.
Okay. So here, actually, this was a demo session. So this example were explained to you at a very high level. So when we deep dive into this example, that is what your expectation is. So I would recommend you to just hold on for 2-3 lectures, then it would gradually move into the IT side, because business analysis is more from a business perspective. IT is there, but it won't be like you would be doing some coding work or some testing work over there. You would be first doing your business work, and then comes your IT, like how you would be configuring the system, how your system would be behaving. That all part is also there, but first we would cover the business part, and then we would move into the IT part. So that would take 1 or 2 lectures. After that it would be completely IT.
Okay, so business part will be different, right? Like, it's just my question. I'm not too sure. Business part, like in insurance and banking and finance and in IT. So business part will be different with like these industry, right?
Yes, the business part is different. If you want the best, what I could do is I would stick to one domain, the insurance domain or banking.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, I have seen previous videos also, like Mindsmap videos. So there was IT sessions, maybe I have IT business. So it's kind of, I got confused. So like I have covered most of the in IT business domain. So whatever videos I have seen previously, so that's the only concern, because it will like it will mix up all the things together. So I will be like, okay, nowhere.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
why.
Not an issue. So whenever you feel like for a business case you need a IT example, do bug me right there. I'll give you a IT example right there. That would be the best I could do.
Okay, and other than that, like syllabus will be the same for any kind of any industry. It will be same, like whether it's IT or whether it's insurance or whether it's like finance. So all these things will be same in any industry, right?
Yes. So this slide which you are seeing, the knowledge areas of BA, this is the core BA knowledge area. It would be same for any industry. So we would be learning this core knowledge area. Okay. Any other questions, anyone? Okay. Okay, then we'll wind up with our session today. We'll connect in our next session. Thank you.